Happy Monday and welcome to Love at Lunch. My name is Leona Devin. I am a certified coach and program developer here in Calgary, Canada. And today we are talking all things building resilience. Ties in perfectly with what I'm doing in a program I just launched called the Big Flip and Deal program, where there's 12 modules that help people learn how to reduce stress, overcome overwhelm, and become more resilient. So if I'll post more information about that in the comment section. And today we're going to talk about the 3 key components to becoming more resilient. This takes some reflection to understand what is actually going through our heads when we are navigating something hard. And I often hear people, something happens and they get caught off guard with something and they'll say, FML. Literally, that makes my skin peel off. Here's the reason, is that our brains listen to what we are saying. So when we say something like F my life, that is a really clear sign that we are not supporting ourselves. We are actually saying something that hijacks our brain. And it is one of the key components that we're learning today. So when I teach this concept, and there's a concept very similar to this in the BFD program, the 3 Ps are: how personal do we take things that are happening in our lives? How pervasive do we believe that things are? So if something bad happens, we think our whole life is going to crumble. And permanence, that it is always going to feel like this. So when I lead this in workshops, I always ask, hey, think back to the last big flip and deal that you faced. Something awful happened. It was like face down, face in the mud, somebody grinding the back of your head. And so think of something that really bad has happened. And I allow them to journal for a few minutes and think back to that really awful experience. And what do they believe about that situation? And I know for myself too, I have struggled with this. I had chronic pain for the last 2 years. In the last 6 months, it started to ease up, but I had it for a solid 2 years, and it was brutal. And I know some of you that are watching today have had horrible things happen. And I think back now, and I thought probably every day, please let this go away, but also what if this doesn't go away? And painful things, whether they're physically affecting us or emotionally, do have a pervasive way of sneaking into things. But it's really important we bring ourselves back and realize, how am I interpreting this big flip and deal right now in my life? And is there something I can do differently? So with personalization and resilience, we'll see people that lack the natural resilient thoughts, and maybe even us at times when things are really hard, is that we think it's our fault. So I've had people that have been diagnosed with things and they're like, I probably did something wrong. This is like karma or the universe trying to wake me up. And, I have, how many brain tumors do I have? Quite a few. 4. And when I hear things like that, I'm like, oh my goodness, are my brain tumors like actually my fault? I could choose to believe that they're my fault. Too much stress, didn't eat well enough. The truth is there's also a very genetic component. I'm missing a tumor suppressing gene. So what is going to bolster my resilience if I'm flattened by the thought that I think that this is my fault? Or it doesn't matter that it is helpful to reflect. Is there something I could be doing to reduce stress, to be supporting myself, to be honoring my life and my body? For sure. But I don't take it as my fault. If I can take something for responsibility for something, great. But I don't take it as a sweeping gesture that this is my fault. The next part we need to make sure of is that we're not taking it as pervasive. I coach, and with their permission, blind clients. And in a lot of those cases, they've lost hope for what they're, how do they bring meaning and purpose? How can they give back because of the limitations? And the truth is, while I completely admire how they manage these things, it's also important for them to realize, you know what, this does not impact everything I do. I have blind patients that are teaching people things. They are launching their own businesses. They're doing amazing things. So that one huge component, it cannot be minimalized, is not actually pervasive in everything they do. They realize that there's lots of options for what they could do, regardless of what has happened here. So it's really important. Don't over-personalize. Know where you are doing that and where can you take responsibility, but don't make it all about you. Where is it stealing that sense of meaning and purpose? And then I would also say, when we find meaning and purpose, we experience joy. So where is it like feeling pervasive, and being able to pick apart the nuances to realize, you know what? Yes, this is a big flippin' deal, but it's not impacting everything I do. There's still ways I could give back. There's still purpose I can find, meaning I can find in this circumstance. And that nothing, even how you feel, is often permanent. Now, I'm not saying for these people who are blind, for example, or for people who experience chronic pain, or for people who see, the relationships eroded by things, that some of those things are not permanent, but the way they feel in that circumstance is not permanent. We are literally wired to be resilient. And so these are tools we can use to build those resilient muscles in order to become more resilient. So notice those 3 P's. When you are feeling overwhelmed, are you adding to that overwhelm because of your belief around those 3 P's? You are over personalizing something. You are making it more pervasive in our lives than it is warranted. And we are making it more permanent. Things are always going to feel this way. I promise you, you will not always feel this way. So the first key is really awareness, and then starting to pull apart and thinking more resilient thoughts and creating more resilient beliefs around the current circumstance that you're facing. So there you go. Here's your Resilience Building Monday. Thank you for joining Love at Lunch. It's always so wonderful to hear from you. And if you want more information about bolstering resilience, reducing feelings of overwhelm, and my friends, gaining a feeling of control, and you think this BFT program might benefit you or someone you love, you could pass on information. Or if you're supporting somebody that's going through a BFT and you know they're not going to take the tools that they need or the time to learn these tools, it's a great program to help bolster resilience. You can pay one time, $179, or 4 times over 4 months, $44.75. I'll tell you honestly, that was less than my wine budget during COVID. These tools have literally saved my life and saved hundreds of others. So lots of love to you. Thank you for joining me. I don't take your time lightly, and we'll see you next Monday.